Hallelujah. Please take your seat. It is a privilege to be here. It is not every time that you get to be called back a second time when you go to a place. And so I want to thank the leadership of this church, Lady Reverend Josephine Tete. I hear Brother Ishmael and his wife are not here, but we acknowledge their leadership of this ministry. I want to especially thank my uncle, Mr. Questos Quote, and his beautiful wife, Auntie Amy. You know, when you grow up in a place where somebody sees you from your very beginning, and yet they are able to see beyond the you they knew then and acknowledge the person you have become. That is a rare characteristic. And for that, I really honor my uncle. Thank you so much. I don't take it for granted. And I want to thank the entire leadership and everybody here for giving me the privilege to come again. I don't take it for granted. I'm grateful to you. And I pray that in our very short time together this morning, God is going to open our eyes to understand some things which we did not understand before. And before we even delve into the subject of the day, I want you to give God a round of applause and thank Him that you have life, that you are well. If you were not well, you would not be able to come here today. And a lot of the time, we take it for granted that we are healthy. It is wealth. We have an anchor that keeps us so steadfast and sure while the billows roll. It's fastened to the rock which cannot move, grounded firm and deep in the Savior's love. We have an anchor that keeps our soul steadfast and sure while the billows roll. It's fastened to the rock which cannot move, grounded firm and deep in the Savior's love. And so, oh God, we thank you this morning. Yesterday you were God. Today you are God. And for eternity you will be God. It is in you that we live and move and have our being. And without you, we are nothing and we can be nobody. This morning, we are grateful for the gift of life and for this privilege. Be in our midst and speak to us. In Jesus' name, we have prayed. Amen. I love your topic. Your health is your wealth. I want to ask you a few questions. You don't need to answer it out loud, but you can answer it in your head and in your heart. And at the end of the session, you would understand why I asked those questions. How many of you have cars? This one there you can show by hand. Very good. How many of you have taken your car for servicing this year? Great. How many have paid insurance, roadworthy over the past 1 year for your car? Beautiful. Thank you. So imagine that this morning, when I got out of bed, I couldn't walk or talk or move a part of my body. I went to bed and during the night, I got a stroke. What would happen is that maybe I'll not even be able to use my phone. So somebody else would have to pick my phone and call my uncle and tell him that we are sorry, but he can't make it here today. Is that correct? The other thing that would happen is that tomorrow morning they would call my office. They would call Rich Hospital and they would call Rand and they would tell them that I'm not well, so I cannot come to work. Beyond that, what would happen is that maybe at the end of the month, or maybe after 2 months or after 3 months, the monies that I earn from the places I work will stop coming. And suddenly, my children and everybody that depended on me would be stuck. And if God is not gracious to me to have people around me who will be kind to me and provide for me and provide for my children, the kind of life I have desired for them, it will never come to pass. All because I went to bed healthy one night and I woke up the next morning and my health was gone. It is important for us to talk about our health because in the scenario I have given you, you can see how your health impacts your life. Physically, mentally, emotionally, financially. And unfortunately, for a lot of us, the only time we remember or acknowledge how important it is to be in good health is when we are sick. If you are lucky to be malaria, and so after like 3 days of coatem, you get better and your life is back. But if you are not lucky, it may be something that would ensure that you never get your life back. Good health is one of the valuable assets we have. If not, it's one of the valuable assets we all possess is the gift of life. But good health adds value to your life. Because there are some people who are alive like you and I, but they can't even eat. And to eat, they have to be fed through a tube. There are some people who can't breathe on their own, and they are on life support machines. There are different categories and qualities of life based on somebody's state of health. And so it is not enough to be just alive. You need to be healthy. And although God is supreme and He controls everything, we have a part to play. And I'm here to point you in the direction of some of these parts. Your health directly impacts every area of your life. And somebody once said that good health is a crown on the head of a healthy man that only the sick man can see. Do you understand that saying? All of us here who are healthy, reasonably healthy, we are wearing crowns, but we don't see it. It takes only somebody who is very sick to see that maame wei nyame hyira no, ɔtumi nante, ɔtumi kasa, one ne kasa a ɔte aseɛ. Everything is super important until you are sick. Then you realize that there was only ever one thing that was important: your health. And I have a few quotations on your subject, health as wealth. I'll read them out. Mahatma Gandhi said that it is health that is real wealth and not pieces of silver or gold. Because I know people with a lot of money in the bank, and sometimes they fall so sick that no matter how much money they offer, modern science cannot help them. Ralph Waldo Emerson said that the first wealth is health. Another person said that the greatest wealth is health. Thomas Fuller said, health is not valued till sickness comes. And Jim Rohn, I love Jim Rohn. He likes talking about money, so I like listening to him. He says that take care of your body. It is the only place you have to live. Your body is the only place you have to live. When it comes to external structures like your home, if there's a flood or something happens to your house, you can easily take money and go and rent another place. I lie. It's very easy. But when it comes to your body, you can't leave your body and look for somebody else's body to possess. It is the only one we have. And that is why we need to guard it with everything we got. And I'll make a few scriptural references on health. 3 John 1:2. Beloved, I pray that all may go well with you and that you may be in good health, just as it is well with your soul. It will be a very unfortunate thing if we are prospering spiritually and yet the bodies that we are possessing, we are not taking good care of it. 1 Corinthians 6:19 and 20. Do you not know that your bodies are the temple of the Holy Spirit which is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. You were bought at a price. Therefore, honor God with your bodies. And the last one on this slide, Romans 12:1. I appeal to you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. Note that Paul is talking about body, but he ended up by saying that it is your spiritual worship. What is the cost of poor health? Before I talk about the cost of poor health, let me tell you one more story. And I'm telling you the story so that it will bring the topic into perspective. A few weeks ago, I was driving home from work when I got a call from a family friend. And she told me that her father went to work that day and collapsed in the office. And he's been rushed to Ridge Hospital. Because she knew I worked there, she called me to tell me. So I asked her a few questions. And based on the answers she gave me, I feared that he had developed a stroke. He had suffered a stroke. So I told her that, I think he will need a CT scan and a few things. But I'm sure the doctors will take care of him. So tomorrow morning when I get to work, I'll come and see him. So the next day I went to see my family friend. I call him an uncle. And he was laying there on the emergency bed and he was unconscious. And he was on oxygen and his breathing was very labored. And I was given the CT scan that had been taken during the night. And I saw that indeed he had suffered a massive stroke. He had bled into his brain, and some of the brain had entered parts we call the ventricles. Anytime that happens, it is a very bad sign. And a few days later, my uncle passed. And whilst I was at the emergency with them, I asked his children a few questions. I asked them that, is daddy hypertensive? And they were like, oh, earlier this year he went to the hospital and they found out that his BP was high. So they put him on medication. And he took everything. He finished taking all the medicine. Then I asked that, oh, so since January, he hasn't taken any more BP medications. And we're like, yes, because he finished taking everything. And at that point, I knew that a grave mistake had been committed. Let me pause here and talk about hypertension since I brought this topic. Hypertension is simply, a tap in your home, the one that you open, then water comes out. When you open the tap in the evening, let's say around 6 p.m., the flow is very normal, easy, right? Because everybody is using water. And then when you open the tap around 1 a.m., when nobody is using the water, the flow is very high. Have you noticed it? So I'm going to use that analogy to describe the veins in our body. We have veins and arteries through which blood flows. And so when we say that you have normal pressure, it means that the blood is flowing through your veins like the speed with which the tap flows around 6 p.m. when a lot of people are not using water. That is normal pressure. But then as we age, for many reasons, commonly age, other times dietary factors. Some people, it is family history. Maybe their mother and their father both had hypertension. And so you have inherited it. And at 50 or 60, you also develop hypertension. And so now the blood that is flowing through your vein is not at the pressure that it was before when you were 30 or 20. Now the pressure is like the pressure when you open a tap at 1 a.m. and it is high. Unfortunately, as human beings, when your blood pressure is high, you may not feel anything. You may feel very normal. But it doesn't take away the fact that the blood pressure is high. And we manage it by giving you medication. These medications do all kinds of things. One of the things they do is that they make the wall of the vessel relax, so that the pressure will come down. But when you take medication for hypertension, it's like when you are hungry. You ate yesterday, right? But this morning, you eat again. Is that correct? That is how the medication is. It doesn't stay in your system for long. Sometimes it stays for 8 hours. Sometimes it's 12 hours. And so sometimes it's 24 hours. It depends on what you are taking. At the end of the 24 hours, the medicine has finished from your system. And so you need to take it again. And that is how we manage the hypertension. But a lot of people don't understand that. And so after they have taken the medication for 1 month, they are very proud. I took all of the medicine. And then we stop taking it. The moment you stop taking it, the blood pressure will go up again. And when your blood pressure goes up, one of the things that can happen is that it can go so high that the blood vessels in your brain can burst. And we call that a stroke. And depending on which part of your brain the blood vessels burst, you may survive it. Sometimes we say it's a minor stroke. Have you heard people talk about minor stroke? Yes. So you may survive it. Maybe you have a little weakness or something. Nobody would even know you suffered a stroke unless maybe you speak. Other times, the part of the brain that is affected, you lose function. You can't move a part of your body or it's weak. Into one nantia, you drag part of your body. And yet at other times, it happens in some part of your brain where it controls your very breathing or your heart rate. And when that happens, you will not survive it. I pray to God that that would not happen to any of us. But it all comes from how well you take care of yourself. Because if you have hypertension and you've been diagnosed and you don't take your medication, it is possible that one day somebody will be before, and in your anger, your blood pressure will go up. And the next thing you know, you'll be lying on the floor. And so for anybody here who has been diagnosed with hypertension, I know it is very hard to have to take medication every day. It is not a nice thing. Can you imagine how hard it is to eat every day too? It is really hard every day. You have to fuel that tank. But I'm sure because for hunger, so it is easy to eat. Hypertension may not give you any signs. But I hope that with the explanation that I have given, now when you have to take your BP medication or your diabetes medication or any medication you are taking for a long-term illness, you understand the consequences of not taking it. And when you look at the inconvenience of having to swallow a pill or 2 pills every day, and you compare it to being in the grave or being handicapped for life, you choose the former. When you are not well, it is expensive. It is very expensive. And I'm talking about it on the backdrop of some of the illnesses that we suffer. It is because of our lifestyle. We may not know it, but what we are eating, the fact that we are not exercising, some of us, we think a lot, mental health. All these things that we are doing to ourselves, it is degrading our health. And so once you acknowledge that these things are stakeholders in your health, you guard them well so that you don't get to the place where you are not well. When you are sick, it is expensive. It is expensive. I own a diagnostic center and I can understand how expensive. Sometimes patients come and they are coming to do a scan. And then you tell them that, Madam, let's say the cost of everything, your scan, your lab, x-ray, is 1,000 cedis or 1,005. Some of them, immediately you say it, then they start crying. Because and unfortunately, when you come for diagnosis, diagnosis basically means we do tests to determine what is wrong with you. That is one of the steps to you being well. It is only for the doctor to know that, okay, you have appendicitis, or you have malaria, or your blood pressure has gone up, or your heart has become big. It is only to give the doctor information. After you have done the diagnosis, you have to buy medicine. And if you want good quality medicine that will work well, it costs money. And if it is a chronic illness like hypertension or diabetes or HIV or anything that does not go away, you don't buy the medication only 1 month. Every month you buy it. So imagine that you have Arabia ball. Every month you are paying like 2,000 cedis for your medication or 1,000 cedis for your medication. And your salary is this, and your husband or your wife or your children need this much from you. You can imagine the strain that can put on your finances. And like I said in the story I gave you earlier about the hypothetical situation, if I'm not well, I can't do my work. This beautiful conversation we are having here, me sorry no pain na menya malaria and coming to member. And suddenly, the benefit that you get from me this morning, you will not get it. The same way when you are not well, in your family unit, for example, you are a husband and you are not well, apart from the money that will not come, your children and your wife, they will not have the privilege to enjoy you anymore. You want to teach your children some things about life, but here you are and maybe stroke has gotten you and you can't even talk. So you see life passing you by, and the things you wish you could have done, you can't do them anymore. Very simple steps we can take to better our health. At the end of the day, God is all supreme and He's ultimate, and He controls everything. But we are stakeholders and we have a part to play. Very simple steps. The first one, nutrition. Nutrition. What you eat is so important. As for me, dear, I'm struggling very hard. My biggest weakness in life is bread. Bread. Bread is sweet, but it is not the best of meals. Okay, actually, when it is not whole grain bread. The normal bread, we use sugar bread, butter bread, refined flour with a lot of sugar. It is not good. And so if you can either cut bread out or reduce the quantity you are taking. It is important that we eat a lot of fruits and vegetables and whole grains. And so for me, sometimes the strategy I use is that I'll eat plenty fruit, maybe watermelon or pineapple. Then it will go and feel like half of my stomach. So if I'm coming to eat a small kenke pet, then I'm full. You get it? Or better still, yesterday I did a program and somebody made jollof and chicken for the people I did the program for. And that particular caterer, I've always had a problem with him. The problem is that he will give you plenty rice and then small chicken. No matter how much, the more money you give him, the more rice he will give you. And so I was telling my husband that I don't know this guy I've spoken. He was like, but you know, when we are growing up, I don't know about me. When I was growing up, you will get plenty rice, and then the fish is small on top. Do you remember? Small fish. And so we grew up from that place of lack. And some of us now we have money. But it is so ingrained in us that sani kabu afa. That now you can afford a lot of chicken. But you feel that come here, sanima yenyo. Sanima ye come yenyo. Fufu ele sano ha mi tobi yenyo. And I remember many years ago, an elderly person in my house, somebody served him fufu and gave him like one. And he was very upset. And he gave a very funny I'll say, excuse me, I'll say, metono bako ana mienu na wama me fufu bako. And he was very serious until he was served two pieces of fufu. Then he was like, yes, now you have confirmed that I'm a human being. And so in our culture, that is how it's been. But now you have come to that place where you can afford to eat 2 pieces of chicken. Right? If you have not come to that place, I urge you to work hard. God has created to the universe as a place of abundance for us. Everything we want and desire is within our reach. Everything that is good. And so if you are in the place where you feel you don't have enough, you just got to reach out your hand and grab what you need. Whatever is good in this world, there is enough to go around. The fact that Ajua has a Fortuna and has a beautiful house does not mean that you have been denied that. Everything you want, as much as you want, you can get it. The question is whether you are willing to do what you need to do to get it. But everything you need, my brother, my sister, it is available to you. The God we serve has made it available. And so I pray that you come to that place in life where this time when you are going to eat, only quarter of your plate is rice. The other half is proteins. It can be gobe, or it can be chicken. It can be fish. But the other half is protein. And then the other quarter is vegetables. And that way you are buying your health. Because carbohydrates, when you get to a certain age, carbohydrate is not good. Menyayempo anka yedu baby a yendi kabobio. But in Ghana, fufu is sweet. Oh, how can you stop eating fufu? Or kinki and banku? It is hard to stop. So one of the things you can do is moderation. Okay, moderation. 1 Corinthians 10:31 says that, so whether you eat or drink, or whatever you do all to the glory of God. So even in your eating, glorify God in your eating. Let God understand that you appreciate that He has blessed you. Proverbs 25:16. If you find honey, eat just enough. Too much of it, and you will vomit. One of the places where you see when ourselves come as Ghanaians is when you go to a funeral or a wedding where they are serving food. That is where we forget ourselves and we put our gentility and our coat aside and we fight for food. Madam, kekwa fatai, omo efa, kekwa fatai. And after you have eaten the first round, then you go and some people even go and change their wig. Then they'll go again. Hey, you haven't seen some before. There are people who can go to a ceremony and they'll go like 5 rounds because the food is free. Anything that is free, somebody is paying for it. And sometimes you think that it is free, so you are eating, oh, barbaro. But guess what? It is going into your body. It is going into your body. There are some of us in our house, we only see malt maybe once or twice a year. Christmas, Easter, and then if we are lucky, maybe some birthday. But then the day we'll go to somebody's wedding, chance take beshi. Before you leave there, you have drunk like 12 bottles of malt. 12 bottles in one day. If you have any idea what it is doing to your sugar, your blood sugar, what it is doing to your heart, what it may be doing to your brain, you would not behave that way. And I'm so glad I'm not the one saying it. The Bible cautions us against gluttony. Eat just what is enough. Physical activities. Nowadays, I've become a bit lazy, but I want to encourage everybody here. Find ways to add more physical activity to your life. Sometimes, if you have a car, you can decide to park the car and walk. Okay? Or most of us, our lives are very busy because you have to wake up early and go to work. By the time you come, it's late and you are tired. But I want to challenge, including myself. This weekend, as I was preparing your presentation, I told myself that, Rosie, you need to go back to your daily walks at least 3 times a week. No matter how difficult it is. If you can't do it during the weekday, over the weekend, one of the things you can do is to do more than one thing at a time. So if there's anything you do that doesn't demand so much of your body, maybe you pray or you have conversation with your loved one and you can combine it with physical activity, I'll encourage you to do that. So you need to have a conversation with God. You need to have a conversation with your significant other. Oh, Charlie, what near feel? Let's take a walk. And then you wear your nice sneakers. Some of you have sneakers. You only baby or sneakers now. You don't have anywhere. No beach trip is coming up anytime soon. So start wearing it and using it to walk around the neighborhood. So you grab your husband, you grab your wife, you grab your children. Let's go for a walk, 1 hour. So you walk for 30 minutes, then you turn around and come back. And as you do the walking, if you are alone, talk to God. Talk to God. Or even if you are not talking to God, use that time to declutter your mind. As human beings and as people who are actively working, we are doing all kinds of things with our life, raising children, doing ministry work. Every time your mind is cluttered. So in that time that you are walking, you try to declutter your mind. You think about God, the things that are beautiful, the goodness of God. I don't know if it is possible for you to have effective meditation when you are walking. But even if you can't do it when you are walking, one of the things, I'm jumping ship, one of the very important things when it comes to mental health is meditation. Meditation. It declutters your mind. You know it better than I do. It has immense benefits on your emotional health and your mental health. Sometimes you don't need to walk like you are going out of your home. You can do gardening or you can do housework. Sometimes we become lazy because our children are grown. They can do everything for us, okay? Or we have house help. They are doing every once in a while. Decide that today I'm going to weed or I'm going to sweep. Not because there's nobody to do it, but you want to get your body moving. And you know, when you're able to move your body well, you can move it well in other places. In the night when you need to move, you'll be flexible. So the exercise is not just for your health, though. For those of you who are married, the exercise is very good for your health. All the things you are talking about, it also has other benefits. Because when they ask you to bend in a certain way, you are flexible. Your joints can move. And then you build stamina. If you can walk for 1 hour and not be tired, when you are in the bedroom and you have to GA certain styles, you will not pant. You will not pant. So the exercise, it has plenty benefits. Health. One of the aspects of health, the simple things we can do is rest and relaxation. Rest and relaxation. And although there are some people who are sleeping too much or resting too much, that is a story for another day. For a lot of us, we are sleep deprived or we are rest deprived. And it is because we are doing so many things. We feel that the whole world revolves around us. Like there are so many things on your plate. And some of you are sleeping 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours a night. And it is not like it is a one-time thing. It's chronic. And sleep is so important. When you sleep, that is when your body resets to factory settings. You know factory settings. So when you go through the day, there's wear and tear. There's emotional stress. All those things compile. They pile up. So in the night when you sleep, God is so wise. That is when He resets your body. He relaxes your mind. The cells that are dying, He repairs them. Some of the cells are dead. Your body will take it out and bring new ones. Your brain is recharged. And some research have even shown that when you sleep, that is when some people lose weight. That is when your body causes you to lose weight. So when you don't have enough sleep, you may think it is not affecting you, but over a long period of time, it begins to affect you. And I've had a period in my life where for like 1 month, when I go to bed, I'm not able to sleep. And I realized in that period that my blood pressure went up. And so when you sleep, that is why sometimes the best time to take your blood pressure is when you wake up in the morning. You take your blood pressure, it is very normal, 120/80. By the time you get to the office and you have to now shout on your workers for not doing the right thing, when you check your blood pressure, it is up. So by the time you go through all the stresses of the day, when you come home and you sleep, then your body will reset and bring your blood pressure back to 120/80. So if you are not sleeping, your blood pressure may not go back to the baseline. Then the next day you continue. So you are building on a very bad foundation. And so it is important that you sleep. If you don't sleep well, it affects your mood. When you are sleep deprived, the things that will not make you angry, now it's like when you are sex deprived, especially the men. Because your body is not in its perfect state of health. It affects your immunity. It affects your energy level. I have a situation at my workplace I'm dealing with. There's a gentleman, they are complaining that he's not working well. He's always complaining he's tired. And I know it is because he's working somewhere else in the night. So by the time he comes to work in the morning, he's tired. And when it's like that, You are not very productive. You make more mistakes. The things you should see and recognize, you don't see them. If you are a driver and you are sleep deprived, you make mistakes on the road. Your judgment is not sharp and you cause accidents. And you are a danger to yourself and to the other road users. That is why we say that don't drive tired. It is not only driving that you should not do when you are tired. There are a lot of things you should not do when you are tired. So when you feel you are tired, take a break and rest. Take a break and rest. The world will not stop revolving because you took a break and rest. And God forbid, if any of us should drop dead today, we will cry for you for a few hours, but then the world will move on. The world will move on, and 6 months, 3 months from now, when God gives you the grace to come back to see what is happening, nobody is thinking about you again. No. Some of you think that the world revolves around you if you don't stop. Me, I used to be one of them. I'm changing very fast. You used to think that if you are not there, and it is a lie that you have told yourself. And sometimes you are working for people and they are demanding more and more and more from you at the danger of your health. If you have a boss who is overtaxing you unreasonably, you should speak up and tell them that Charlie, na share, so no slow down, Hami. Because we are not getting any younger. There are a few things that you need to mind when it comes to sleep. If it is possible, have a regular sleep schedule. So if you decided that you are sleeping 7 hours every night or 6 hours, ideally 7 hours, but me, I don't remember the last time I had 7 hours. You develop a routine that, okay, I'll go to bed by 10, then I'll wake up at 4 or 5. If you have that routine, it helps. When it's 10, when you develop that kind of routine, by the time it's 10, you already start feeling sleepy. You know that it's time to go to bed. Then you set an alarm, you wake up, and then you continue. The other thing is to create a very relaxing environment in your bedroom. Some of us, our bedroom is like our office. It's like the dining area. That is where we talk about the house tribunal is in the bedroom. When you are hungry, you take your food there. You have a big TV there that you watch. Everything, whole heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bone. We are talking about mental health. Some of us, yet, my God, cry has finished. For a lot of us, we allow words and people and circumstances to sit on our happiness. We take delight in being sad or worried or concerned. The Bible is telling us that it will dry up your bones. I'm not saying that difficult times in life will not come. They will always come. But that is why we have a rock that we can lean on. When the difficult times come, you turn it over to God. Proverbs 16:24. Gracious words are like a honeycomb, sweetness to the soul and health to the body. Learn how to speak with grace. Learn how to speak with grace. Let every word that comes out of your mouth be healing. The Bible says that I pray that God will give me the tongue of the learned so that I will know how to speak a word in season to him that is weary. And the words that come out of our mouth, they can be healing. Can you imagine if we all decide that we are only going to speak words that would build and uplift? What a beautiful life that would be. A tranquil heart gives life to the flesh, but envy makes the bone rot. Proverbs 14:30. Some of you, when you go to bed, the thing that keeps you up at night is not even your own problem. So you are thinking about somebody else. Hey, when I went to the office today, Mrs. Chikata has a new car. And because of Mrs. Chikate's new car, you can't sleep. Why? Why? Oh, it's true. Some of us, we have a problem. The moment God blesses somebody, then we have a problem. Envy does not help. And if you have this mentality that I told you earlier, that everything that you want in this life, it is available to you. If you believe that one, no matter what somebody has or doesn't have, it will not affect your sleep. It will not cut your life short because you think and get diabetes or hypertension. God loves all of us equally, and everything is available to you. And the fact that Auntie Amy has been blessed does not mean that what they were going to give to you, that is what has been given to Auntie Amy. No. Some of you, your friends get married, or all of you are contemporaries, and then you are looking at somebody's marriage and you are envious. You are eyeing somebody's husband. You too, God has given you one. Make it good. Make it good. The envy, it will sap life out of you. Isaiah 58:11, the Lord will guide you continually and satisfy your soul in drought and strengthen your bones. This is the promise of God. You shall be like a watered garden and like a spring of water whose waters do not fail. Matthew 6:34, therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. I like the other version that says that sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof. Proverbs 3:5-8. Trust God from the bottom of your heart. Don't try to figure out everything on your own. Listen to God's voice in everything you do, wherever you go, because He is the one who will keep you on track. We are talking about mental health. And the word of God is filled with resources. And if it is any comfort for any of you, the fact that you know God, you acknowledge that God lives in you, and believe these promises that God has laid down in the Bible, it is already a ticket to good health. It is already a ticket to good health. And so I pray that these very few things that I have shared with you would sink in your spirit, that we would all work with them, and we would live a very, very long life, and we'll come for your 80th birthday and your 90th birthday, and we would be in good health. God bless us all. It is time for questions and answers. I have one thing that I want to encourage everybody to do. Is like a homework. I want you to think about one small change you can make in your life as it is now that would improve your health. A small change. For example, you can decide that from today after 6, you will not eat. Or you can decide that every day I'll make sure that I eat fruits. Something small. There's a book called Atomic Habits. I don't know if anybody here has read it, but it's an amazing book. The basic concept in that book is that every big change starts with small changes. And so all the things I've spoken about, FAP is bebre. But you take one little bit of change every day, and you realize that over the next few months, your life will improve. Every week you do something new. And the questions I asked at the beginning of the presentation, I asked them because for a lot of us, until we are sick, we don't go to the hospital. In the minute of a hospital, I should go and give my money to the doctor. But I asked you because the cars you drive, you take it for servicing. And you are the one making the money. You bought the car, and you are valuing the car better than your own body. Do you understand the analogy? So anytime you are doing something for the car or for your house, every year, some of you, every year, Christmas, you paint your house so that it will look nice. Meanwhile, that whole year, you haven't checked your blood pressure. You haven't seen the inside of a hospital. Hospital is not only for sick people. It is for people who want to manage their health so that it doesn't get to the point of no return. And so once a year, put some money aside. If you don't know where to go, you can come to Rand. We do an annual medical checkup for you. And it is recommended you do that every year because the things that are killing Ghanaians, they are not things that happened overnight. There are things that develop gradually. This year, the person's blood pressure was 120. Next year is 125. Then it went to 130, then 150. But because you never checked it, you didn't know you had hypertension until the day you suffered a stroke. So every year you check it so that when something is going wrong, we know what to tell you and you know what to do to make sure that it is not too late. God bless you. Please ask any question you want to ask relating to health.
Thank you, Roxanne. Doc, I have two questions. The first one, I know is very important. Maybe because of time, you couldn't talk about it. You talk about the benefits of diet, but you didn't talk about the benefit of water. So, how important is water to us, and what is the right way to drink water for our health? And my second question is, in trying to live uh, life, you talk about exercise, you talk about diet. We've also heard, and now it's very common on social media, where there are a lot of pills and medications that will help you to lose weight and all those things. How beneficial are those? And what would you recommend? Using medication to lose weight, to keep in shape. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your questions. And so I'm sorry that I did not mention water. You are right. And even with water, I would mention something else as well that I forgot to mention. Water is so important. Water is life. And you can even tell a person's level of hydration by your skin. Water is so important. There's nothing like you are drinking too much water. And so for everybody here, if you can make sure that you are drinking as much water as you can. I personally keep a bottle of water by my bedside. Every time I'm going to work, there's a bottle of water in my bag because you can never go wrong with how much water you drink. Some people believe that some research have said that cold water is not good for you. There are so many conflicting information out there. But for me, so long as you are drinking water, it is okay, whether it is warm or cold. Of course, when you are in a place where it's cold, like winter, and you want to drink warm water, it's understandable. Whichever one works for you, but by all means, drink as much water as you can. It will make you healthy. It will flush out your kidney and your liver. It will make sure that your skin is fresh. Ubaya tuku tuku naha naha. So drink as much water as you can. And then the question about diet and pills and all that. I think when it comes to I'm a doctor, but when it comes to medication, I'm very conservative. And I only let people take medication when I believe it is absolutely necessary. I remember very early in my career, one time I saw a patient and it was a very long conversation. Then I made her run a lot of laps and everything came out normal. And I realized that her complaints were more psychological. And so I did counseling and then I gave her some recommendation and I told her she could go. Then she was like, "Oh, doctor, you want any wepi? One mama kasa bebre say one mama tablet back umpo." No, and that is our culture. We believe when you go to hospital and the doctor gives you plenty medication, that doctor Eleni why bomode wa ning hami chufa. It is not about how much medication you are taking. And medicine is such that until you need it, don't take it. There are a lot of us here. We are taking all kinds of multivitamins, and this one is for my bone, this one is for my hair, and this my liver. The more medication you are taking, the more stress you are putting on your liver and sometimes your kidney. And there are some medical conditions we are fighting with in this country because of the medications we are taking. And it is not only medication in the medical sense, sometimes alcohol and bitters and shikpon chofa. Shikpon chofa. Some of you da na akpo noko aho noko a mix ni bi. God is so kind. He's giving us food and natural herbs. So that if you are eating well, me, I don't take multivite. I don't take multivite because I believe that when I'm eating a balanced diet, everything I need is in the food I'm eating. And that is the truth of the matter. Unless you are sick medically, some people have all kinds of sicknesses or cancer, and so their body is not able to absorb what they are eating. That is a different story. But if you are well and your body is okay, eat your balanced diet. Make sure that your plate looks like a rainbow. It is colorful. And that is all the medication you need. And when it comes to weight loss, obviously you can tell that me, I've never been slim. No matter what I do, I want to be a homatin. I have not gotten there before. But I have not given up on managing my weight. I watch what I eat. I exercise. And I know that I'm doing my best. And once you know you are doing your best, it is good enough. And so everybody here, make sure that you are doing your best for whatever your health goal is. And those medications and things that people take for weight management, it has its own side effects. And some of them too, the moment you stop using the product, then you go back to your default. So why don't you rather look for a natural way to manage your weight and your health? I think it is the best way to go. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next question.
God bless you. Yeah, my name is Atu Nkrumah. I have particularly enjoyed presentation. Yeah, so, but there are a few things that I'm not too comfortable with. And that is to do with the use of the word manage. Manage diabetes, manage this and that. Are we saying that something like hypertension can never be uprooted or done away with in one's body? There are naturopaths who have been saying, oh, they can easily get rid of hypertension. Recently in social media, they said they use a leaf, what is that, basil or so. Just put it under your tongue and the hypertension is gone. Where would the two meet? My second question is to do with the driving. You said people who drive should park their cars and walk. Is driving not also an exercise? Because people, especially those who use the stick, excuse me, with, use the clutch, the manual, vehicle. Using your left for the clutch, your right for the operator, the right for brake, and so on and so forth. Even in traffic, hey, somebody is misbehaving. Hey, what is this? What? All that. Are you saying driving is also not an exercise? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Questions are very interesting. When it comes to chronic medical conditions, as I know it, as I have been taught as a medical doctor, they are not diseases that you give medication for. When you get it, most of the time, that is it. You have it for the rest of your life. And there are a lot of people who, even just yesterday, I think somebody did a program and mistakenly used my number. And so for like 3 days now, I kept getting calls that doctor over here program or TikTok who say we drove me far me diabetes nebeko. Me, I haven't seen that kind of medication before. And I haven't seen that kind of medication at work. So in case somebody has me, I want to know. But maybe there from my experience and from the way I've been trained, people with these chronic conditions, once you get it, that is it. And that is why we are so emphatic on making sure that you don't get there. Because before you get it, you can manage your life such that you don't get to that stage. But once you cross a certain line, that is it. And so if you are hypertensive and you are put on medication, the medicine will bring your blood pressure down. But the moment you stop taking it, the blood pressure goes up. There are a few people who, for example, my dad is hypertensive. And in his older age, I have noticed that the BPs are not as high as they used to be when he was younger. But he's still hypertensive and he still takes his BP medication. I will not deny the fact that we have a God who can do miracles. And we can always make room for miracles. But until a miracle shows up, when you are hypertensive or diabetic, from the medical knowledge I have, you can manage it, you don't cure it. And then the question about driving and exercise. No matter how much you move your hands or get angry behind the steering wheel, you can't compare the exercise, the benefits of walking to driving a car. They are not the same. They are not the same. And so if you really want to get some exercise in there, burn some calories, get your joints moving, sometimes you need to park your car and walk. If it's not a very long distance, instead of taking the car, Madra, let's just take a walk and go and come. And it is fun. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Vincent, and I have two questions. So earlier you spoke about how diet is important when you're considering your health. And I think most people talk about diet, calories. We are in place where we don't normally calculate the calories we eat. And unless it is those processed food cans. And they say, oh, reduce the calories you eat. So if you eat one banku or two balls of banku, try to eat one. But probably in my house, the one ball of banku is approximately 2.5 balls of banku in another person's house. The calories is not calculated. Doctor said I should eat one, so I'm eating one. And I'm actually eating one, but it is two. So how does diet affect the talk about hypertension and also calories? How do you know you're eating right? And then also, most times when we hear medical professionals talking about health, they speak about hypertension, but they don't talk about hypotension. Why? Because I think if you are hypotension, and you said earlier that the way the pipe flows at midnight, the pressure, same way, if the pipe flows, let's say by drops, I feel like it will take time for the blood to get to somewhere that needs the blood at a certain time. So how does hypotension also affect us? And lastly, there's this thing on sugar. You have high sugar level, and people tend to take the sugar as in sugar, the white sucrose. Sometimes when you are talking to people about it, because I have a little knowledge in that area, I talk to people about such thing, they'll say, oh, I've not taken so much sugar. I just drank Coca-Cola. You ask, what did you eat? Oh, when I woke up in the morning, I had some rice from yesterday, so I ate it. And then I felt hungry, so I had some 2 balls of banku with some granules soup from yesterday, so I ate that one too. But the Coke, sugar, so it's okay. But the sugar itself, I feel like people don't really understand the sugar. Because if you are eating more banku, more rice, you are getting that sugar and they are confusing it with the white sugar. So if you can clarify for us as well, I'll be fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You reminded me of something that Ghanaians do, and I still don't understand how we do our calculation. Have you ever seen somebody saying that coke sugar yemi chon wo mi ekemi nu enke nu futuo? Okay, nu ba futu she at the end of the day you are drinking the whole bottle. And it's estimated that in one bottle of the usual soft drink, whether Coke, Fanta, whichever one, you have about 9 cubes of sugar. 9 cubes. And so whether you dilute it with olonka of water or you take it raw, you are still taking the same amount of sugar into your system. So if you are one of those people who says that me and dilute or then you dilute it, that one it doesn't change the sugar you are taking in. Thank you for your question. So the first one is a little related to the last one. Okay, in terms of how much is too much, the quantity of carbohydrates we are eating. There are a lot of guidelines on the internet, and when you see dietitians, they also have some guidelines they give. One of the guidelines I remember very well, which is very easy for all of us to use, is you make a fist, okay, and you look at the size of your fist, your banku and your kenke and all those carbo that we eat. It shouldn't be bigger than the size of your fist. It should be the size of your. Hey, some people are saying that Jesus. Well, if you look at the size of your fist and the amount of food that you've been eating, but that is the reality. That is the reality. That is the easiest measurement. You don't need to bring, you just make a fist and you know that this banku I'm eating, it is below the bar or above the bar. So use that. And then when it comes to the question about sugar, the most dangerous sugar is the refined sugar, which is the white sugar we know. And it doesn't have to be you putting the sugar in your tea or Milo, but there are a lot of products we buy off the shelf, processed food that have sugar in them. And that is why I'm always an advocate for fresh foods. Because when I eat pineapple, pineapple can be very sweet, but the sugar in the pineapple is a natural sugar. And when my body digests it, it is able to handle and manage that natural sugar better than the refined sugar. And so refined sugar is not good. It is in cake, it is in drinks, it is in biscuits. You know them, right? The things you buy from off the shelf. And so when I wake up, I have a sweet tooth. So one of the smoothies I like to do is banana and orange. I blend it together and I drink it. It is very sweet, but I know that that kind of sweetness is not me that has measured and put it in the thing. And so I drink it without being guilty about it. But the refined sugar is the problem. And your kenke and your banku and your fufui also has sugar in it. That is why there should be a limit to how much you can eat. I know diabetics who boast very proudly, me sugar 30 years, then you go sugar down. But when they sit to eat fufui, the natural food that we are eating, it also has sugar. And so, although you are not eating refined sugar, you should limit the amount of white starch you are eating. So, our banku, our ampesi, our rice, our fufui, our kenke, they have a lot of starch in it. So, use your fist as a measuring tool to decide if you are eating too much or too little. And then, when it comes to hypertension, I want to clarify something. There are some people we say they are hypotensive and we are not really sure what we are talking about. The normal blood pressure is average 120/80. But for a lot of young Ghanaian women, especially, and now my blood pressure is in the 110, 120s. But when I was younger, my blood pressure was around 90/60, 100/60. And it is not hypotension. I'm not sick. There's nothing wrong with me. It is not hypotension. And so if you measure your blood pressure and it is 170, 160, don't start panicking and say, hey, I'm hypotensive, BBM, you know. There's nothing wrong with you. The kind of hypotension we as doctors worry about is when somebody with a normal blood pressure, there are things that can give you hypotension. The commonest one is when you bleed. So you are in an accident or you are in surgery and you are bleeding a lot, your blood pressure will start dropping because the amount of blood that is circulating has come down. And that kind of hypotension we worry about and we need to correct, because if we don't correct it, you can lose your life. And a lot of these hypotension in the medical sense that I'm talking about, when we see it, we know it. But for people like you walking around, if I measure your blood pressure and it's 170, I won't start running helter skelter and say that you are suffering from hypotension. I hope I have made myself clear.
My name is Nikome, and today I have the chance to ask a question too. Okay, so basically, last year, July, a friend's father died. She said, "Ni, um, we all, I mean, from the way my father does his checks every time, he exercises, he eats very well every time. We all thought that we will all die before our father. So, I mean, this is like a very health conscious man. He traveled to the US, and in 2 days' time, they said he had pulmonary embolism, right? And then he died. Um, my friends in their 30s too as well. Some of them are very active. I know this guy who is very active. He's actually a Muslim. Um, he exercises. He plays football almost every time. He too, all of a sudden, I mean, fell down, died while he was playing football. Just like we've heard of, is it the journalist who died? Yes, the journalist who died, and then even Emisa Atta working out, and then they just fall down and they die. My age mates as well. I mean, some of my mates are getting stroke too as well, despite they are active. I mean, running, going to the gym, just like I also was going to do. I mean, my question is that why? I'm asking the question why, or possibly I should ask, I mean, what kind of test should we do? What at all, I mean, is there, because I mean, the first story I spoke about, he's a man who has been doing his test every year. So every year he's going to the hospital doing what's called test. There are people who might be having some, liquid in their lungs. You hear possibly something in their head, something in their throat. I mean, that might lead to their what's called death or to they becoming ill for a very long time. But despite they do the test that you are requesting us. I asked this question last year, and a doctor said that normally people have underlying conditions, right, that lead to these things. But if they are going to the hospital every time, like you're saying, you have just like we take our cars to the mechanic every year, what kind of tests are we supposed to do to prevent things like stroke, to prevent things like pulmonary embolism, to prevent things like lung cancer, to prevent things like, I mean, yes, what are we? Because there are people who are doing it. They are eating right, they are doing everything right, but then still they are dying or falling down. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That is a very important question, and I'm going to do my best to answer you very well and very completely. God help me. So, you see, there are some situations in life that we have absolutely no control over. For example, this thing called pulmonary embolism. You can have somebody who is very well, very healthy, only diabetes, only hypertension, clean bill of health. And the person decides to take a trip, maybe he's traveling to Australia or US, and sits in the plane for 10 hours, 12 hours. What happens when you are sitting down for a very long time without moving is that the stasis, the blood doesn't circulate very much. And anytime blood sits at a place for a long time, it can clot. Okay. So the person is sitting down, not moving very much, or maybe he has some underlying medical condition that predisposes him to bleeding, to clotting, that has never been picked up. And so he sits in the plane for 12 hours. He gets out of the plane, and within an hour or two, that clot that formed in his leg travels from the leg into the heart. And when that clot gets into the heart, it gets to a place where it stops blood from supplying the lungs or supplying the brain. And you can die within minutes in that kind of situation. This is somebody who has done everything. And that is why at the beginning of the presentation, before we started, I sang a song. We have an anchor, right? The Bible says that it is not of him that willeth, neither is it of him that runneth, but it is God that shows mercy. And so, for all the precautions, that is why if you live in this life and you don't lean on something beyond the knowledge as human beings, fallible human beings, you are the most miserable of people. Because you can do everything, but it is only God that shows mercy. And so, when all is said and done, we have an anchor that keeps the soul steadfast and sure while the billows roll. Fastened to the rock which cannot move, grounded firm and deep in the Savior's. We as doctors, we have suggestions, we have protocols, we have screening, we have all kinds of things that we can do. But even in the places with the best of medical technology, people die. And so you can run all the tests in this world, but God is the one that shows mercy. And sometimes people don't live well. They don't take good care of their bodies. They are obese, they are diabetic, they are hypertensive. And they get to that place where everything medical says that this person should die. But at that point, mercy says no. Because when Mr. Quartet dies, 500 widows in Accra will not eat. And so me, God, who is the supreme being, I will not let Mr. Quartet go. Life is not just physical. It is also spiritual. But we as human beings are going through a physical experience for a short time. And so while we are here, we do what we can. But the ultimate, it lies in the power of the Supreme. You can only do your best. And if you are doing your best, it is good enough.
My name is Roland Tete. My question is, before we started using paracetamol and white man medicine, Africans are relying on our herbs. So all of a sudden, I don't know whether as a result of dominance or control, our sisters and brothers have been trained and they tell you that what you are depending on is not good. So we are depending on nature and the trained people are depending on laboratory, manufactured good. So between nature and man, we should be accepted more. Because, for example, diabetes, pressure, medicine, the person who is to advise you have been trained to advise you to keep your body and soul together, says that the thing cannot be cured. And potency that is to cure it is not being made like that. And they say you shouldn't do. And they are condemning what we were doing before they were trained, which our mothers, our grandmothers, grandfathers dependent on. And they live their lives until this test tube and laboratory manufactured product come with a huge side effects. So what do you say to that?
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sure we all know that for quite a number of the medications that we use in orthodox medicine, we get them from the natural ingredients, right? Some are produced in the lab, but some are from the natural ingredients that we are using already. And I'm so happy that in a place like Ghana, we have an institution like Mampong, where they research into the herbs we have always used. The problem is that for those who were using the herbs, sometimes there's an issue with how much Because you can go and see somebody who is doing herbal medicine, and they'll give you a whole gallon and tell you that you should finish the gallon in 5 days. And so you are not sure how much of the active ingredient is in that gallon and whether the dosage they are giving you is right or wrong. And that is why places like Mampong are there. They have research into the herbs. They know what can treat what and how much the quantity should be. And so there are people who are more inclined towards herbal medication, you can go to a place like Mampong and have your medication. But then God has also given man wisdom. Some of the medications are from natural ingredients, some are synthetic, but they do work. The only problem is when we abuse it. I have always maintained, and I've said it here, even today, that I believe in taking medication only when you need to. If you can eat well and take sickness out of your life, why do you want to wait till you fall sick? And so natural is always best. And we as doctors are not against herbal medication. The problem is the regulation and how much the person is taking. Thank you so much. I've enjoyed my time with you all. You are an amazing audience. And I pray that God will keep all of us again until we meet. God bless you.
God bless you. I think we can, because we can't clap, we can maybe stand and just show our appreciation to Doctor.